Good morning, students. I'm again back with my part 3 of the chapter The Food Factory of Plants. I'm sorry that this part 3 of this chapter is coming to you little late because of some technical problem in my mobile. Anyway, today I'm going to teach you about the functions of leaf. Already you have studied the structure of leaf, different parts of leaf, about photosynthesis, and now today we are going to study about functions of leaf. So let us note down the various points. Functions of leaf. Leaf is, as the name of the chapter, leaf is the food factory of plant. You know why it is called food factory of plant? Leaf is the food factory of plants, and it is called food factory of plant because it prepares food for the plant by the process of photosynthesis, which you have already studied in your previous session. So this is one of the main functions of leaf. Secondly, the leaves of the plants have small tiny pores, not small, tiny pores in them, and they are called stomata. The leaves of the plants have tiny pores in them called stomata. And what does this stomata do? It takes in carbon dioxide for plants to do photosynthesis. So next, third point, the surface area of leaf, the surface area of the leaf helps leaf to trap or observe. We can not trap, observe. To observe sunlight. As you know, sunlight is also necessary for photosynthesis. So at very first point we have mentioned that the leaf is the food factory of plant because this is the main function of the leaf, and then the leaf of the plant has tiny pores, those are called stomata, which takes in carbon dioxide from the air for the plants. The surface area of the leaf help leaves to observe sunlight. This sunlight is also used for photosynthesis. Now, next is the fourth point. There are various leaves which are also used by the plants for reproduction. For example, bryophyllum plants. Now, generally we know that plants reproduce with the help of seeds, but there are certain plants which reproduce with their different other parts other than seed, and that is called vegetative propagation. I think you have studied in class 3 or you may be studying in class 5. Now, so here leaf also helps in the reproduction of plants. Leaves of, so we can write this point as leaves of certain plants helps in the reproduction of plants. Example of such plant is bryophyllum. This is one such plant, bryophyllum. Children, note down this in your copy. Then we will move to the next topic. Now next topic, some unusual plants. There are certain plants which is not very usual as they are green or something, as we think of whenever we think of plants, what color comes to our mind? Green. But there are certain plants which are, we keep those plants in unusual plants category. You know why? Because they are not green. So those plants, we call them non-green plants. Non-green plants are those plants which do not have chlorophyll in them. So these plants do not have chlorophyll. Now the question arises, if they don't have chlorophyll, how do they survive? Because till now what we have studied is that plants prepare their own food with the help of chlorophyll, sunlight and carbon dioxide. Now here is a controversy that these non-green plants do not have chlorophyll. How do they survive? And which are the plants which comes under the category of non-green plants? So let me tell you, the plants which you have seen, many of you would have seen mushrooms. Mostly in rainy season we find these mushrooms and molds. Now what is this mold? When mother keeps, suppose a piece of bread, you keep in one corner with a moisture or humid, you will see some greenish and whitish material growing on those bread or chapati, and that bread or chapati becomes spoiled, they get spoiled. So those growth of greenish and whitish material on the bread or chapatis, when they decay, in Hindi we call it sad jana. So when they decay, those growths are actually a kind of plant which is a non-green plant, and those growths, green and whitish growth, are called mold. Now these mushrooms we also use it for eating, and there are certain mushrooms which we don't eat because they are poisonous. So in Hindi many places you will hear they are also called as gobar chatta. And you will see in very like humid and moistured wood logs it grows. The shape is like this somewhat. In the book it is given. Like this it is. Mushrooms. And they are white or some yellowish or brownish in color. So these are non-green plants. And how do they get their food? They get their food from the dead and decaying matters. You will see these plants, mold and mushrooms, they generally grow on dead and decaying waste materials, where the log of wood is there or some waste things are thrown, rubbish, garbages are thrown. You will see them growing over there. So they get their food from all those decayed and dead matters, and they survive it that way. So these are the non-green plants. Another category of an unusual plant are insectivorous plants. Insectivorous plants. Now what are these insectivorous plants? Till now we have studied that plants prepare their own food with the help of photosynthesis and they survive. Also just now you have studied there are certain non-green plants which grow on waste matters, dead and decayed matter, and that way they get their food and they survive. Now what is this insectivorous plants? You will be surprised to know that these insectivorous plants eat insects. Yes, it is very surprising that plants also eat insects. Till now we were knowing that animals or other living creatures eat other animals or birds or insects. But here a plant also eats insects. So such plants are called insectivorous plants. Now what are the examples of insectivorous plants? Like Venus flytrap, then picture plant. These plants comes under the category of insectivorous plants. Now, how do they eat insects? Do they have mouth? Like we are having mouth. Do they have mouth to eat insects? I'll explain you that. Venus flytrap plant is somewhat of this shape. Try to understand this. Somewhat of this shape. This is the part of a Venus flytrap. Here are hairs. This Venus flytrap has hairs. Now see actually what happens. These are the hairs, and here some liquid materials are there. That is called digestive juice. Now, as a fly, small insect or fly, they go around and they happen to sit on this Venus flytrap. As they sit there, this Venus flytrap get the stimuli, and like suppose this is the Venus flytrap part, just as I have drawn on the board. As the insect sits on this Venus flytrap, slowly this gets closed. When it gets closed, the insect remains inside, and then this Venus flytrap plant secretes some digestive juice there, and then this insect is digested. So this is the way how this Venus flytrap eat insect. So the name itself is fly trap. Trap means fasana. So the insect, the fly is here, and slowly this Venus flytrap plant closes. The digestive juice is secreted over here, and then that is digested. The insect is digested. This is how this Venus flytrap eats the insect. Now let us see this pitcher plant. The name itself, pitcher means pot, matka, ghada. So it is of this shape, pitcher plant. This is the shape of a pitcher, like this. And here is a lid. Then the plant has the branches and whatever it is, like this. So this is what I am drawing is pitcher plant. Now see how this pitcher plant traps insects or eats insects. This pitcher is also having hair-like structure over here at the tip of its mouth. Here, the insect flies and gets inside the pitcher. As the pitcher plant gets the stimuli of the insect, this lid gets closed. This lid gets closed, and the insects get inside the pitcher. The digestive juice is secreted, and the insect is taken inside. So this is how, I think it is very clear to you now with the picture. This is how these insectivorous plants eat insect. So these are the two categories of unusual plant, that is one non-green plants which do not have chlorophyll. Examples are mushroom and molds, and these plants get their food from dead and decaying matter. This is the mushroom. Here mushroom examples are mushroom and mold. Insectivorous plants, they feed on insects. Examples: Venus flytrap and pitcher plant. And how, that I have explained you. In the notes I'll give you all about it.